gentlemen, to the virtual LibertyCon 33 virtual panel. What's new from Canon Publishing?
Good evening, everybody, or morning, or whatever time you're watching this. It being a virtual world, you can watch it in the morning when you wake up, and then you can watch it again at lunchtime, and then you can watch it at dinner, and then you can watch it with some of Hillbilly's good whiskey, sitting down on your couch at 9 o'clock in the afternoon, evening. All right. So, as many of you know, and some of you don't, my name is J.F. Holmes, John Holmes. I changed my pen name to JF because if you Google John Holmes, you might be surprised at the results that you get. So I am known as JF Holmes, but to my friends, I'm John. All right. I am a writer, author, and a publisher, sort of. Okay. I have a very small publishing company. And over the past year, we've been working on something called The Fallen Empire. All right. This was a kind of a what if projection into the future based on end of the Roman Empire, Western. What would an interstellar empire that resembled Rome look like after it had fallen apart? And as a kid growing up, well, maybe not a kid, but growing up, I like to read Hammer Slammers by David Drake, which is an awesome series of books about a 30th century mercenary company based regiment. And I worship Dave. I don't worship Dave. He's a great guy, but I've met him at LibertyCon, and he's always been an inspiration to me. So I decided I wanted to write a book that combined my interest in history in Western Roman Empire, but set it in a futuristic setting because I'm a military science fiction author. So Lucas, Markham, and I put our heads together, and we kind of came up with a background. And then I got a lot of input from these guys here on how to world build and what things we wanted to see in the world. And I wrote the first book and working on the second one. And hopefully we will have an anthology or some new novels or both come out later this summer. So that's what I got for now. Hillbilly, do you have any questions you want to ask about this? Or I can go a little more in depth. Talk about what our stories are. What would you like?
This is your bag, man.
Okay, cool. All right. So first off, we have Rob Reed. Okay, Rob's going to eventually write himself when he is not super busy like we all are. He's going to write a full-length book based on. Go for it, Rob.
Okay. My book is called Outcast, and I'm actually working on it now. I just finished up another project that I needed to knock off first, so I've actually started writing this, and I've been looking forward to it because I've had it plotted out for a while. In John's universe, you had all these regular military people who were rift, reduction in force or demobilized, however you want to put it, and so a lot of them became mercenaries because there weren't a lot of jobs. Well, what happens if you get someone who was in the military, gets demobilized, then becomes a mercenary and is working that way, and then commits a crime in his unit and is court-martialed and literally drummed out of the unit, thrown out on the street, no benefits, no pension, long-serving soldier, and he's on the outs. And then he finds out that not only is he on the outs with his unit, but he's been blacklisted because they've formed I don't think union is the right word, but an agreement among the various mercenary units as to how things will be run, kind of a trade association. And he's been blacklisted from all the legitimate units. So, of course, all that's left is the illegitimate units, the guys that are working on the margins, doing things that are more shady, if not outright illegal, if not outright leading into, criminal acts and possibly terrorism. And he has to make his way in that world. But he's not at his core, he's not a bad guy. He just made a mistake. But he has to live with the consequences of that. And there's more going on than just that, but I don't want to give all of it away because, spoilers. But I'm really looking forward to getting this one written because I've got a lot of cool things that are going to happen in it. That's pretty much it right now.
Yeah, one of the great things about this world is Rob is going to be using some minor characters that appeared. If you're still going with that,
Oh yeah, definitely. That
right,
makes it
in my
work a
books.
lot better.
Yeah, in my books, who are going to be, they've already had their character formed, and they are known people. They're going to be much more heavily involved in Rob's book because it's a jumping off point from the unit that I set up. Right, so the characters, some of the characters, more minor characters, are going to step into their own bigger roles for this book. So a lot of what we're going to be doing is very much interconnected. With the Irish Brigade, I wrote a story that has people who are in a different company, and that's going to be Mike Morton's guys, right, which is a unit that specializes in taking down space stations, right? So they assisted the Irish Brigade guys with taking a station that was a slave market, right? So hopefully Mike's going to jump into what's going on with those guys in his big book. So, Mike, you want to talk about your story for the anthology, which we may turn into a book instead? We'll see what happens.
Yeah. So, Mike Morten, I'm writing a story about a unit. These guys are the force recon of the space world. It's their job to do the reconnaissance and assault on ships, space stations, asteroids, what have you. They are experts in operating in microgravity. So while most Marines know their way around a EVA suit and know how to walk and move in zero G, these are the true masters of the art. And so when their unit gets demobilized en masse by the governments to save money, their commander decides that he's going to go mercenary on the advice of Colonel Meager, who's the lead in John's book. And Colonel Meager was a former commanding officer of my guy. And so Meager gives him some good advice, and he takes his unit out into the demilitarized zone and forms his own mercenary company. So I'll be exploring the DMZ, kind of like almost like a Wild West setting. There's 150 or more worlds out there that have been cut off, and they're left on their own now. And so they're not worthless, though. So lots of corporations and other government agencies are going to be angling to either take outright control of those resources or at least figure out how to use them best to their own gain. And so they're going to need mercenary units to protect them. And the shipping lanes are going to need mercenary units to protect them from the pirates because there's no longer any government navies around. So my guys are going to be involved in several corporate schemes trying to gain control over some of these worlds that are out there. And get caught up in a lot of machinations that are going on out there, and of course fight pirates along the way, and hopefully have a good time.
Cool. All right, so let me jump back in here. All right, so one thing I didn't mention is something that I just totally forgot again. Popped into my brain, popped out. Right, the people who are running this empire that fell apart are not human. All right, so the humans have been kind of under the thumb for 5 centuries, and there's a lot of politics going on. What the new world is going to shape itself out to be, and the mercenaries kind of walk a fine line between getting caught between all these governments, and sometimes even the fact that the guy in the foxhole next to you isn't human trumps, species differences. So there's a lot of different tension going on in all these things too. So majority human, but here and there you have to deal with the remnants of the old empire and things like that. So, Casey, let's talk about what you got going on.
All right, so I'm Casey Moores. I've got a special ops and rescue background on the air with the point of perspective that I write from. And so in the Fallen Empire specifically, I've tried to sort of there a little bit for what I created. I decided that in the time of the Legions, when the wars were going, rescue auxiliaries, the aircraft and their support teams that would pick up injured soldiers and whatnot like we have today. And when this started breaking apart, when the human legions started going mercenary, one individual founded the Field Extraction and Recovery Services, the FXRS, or the Fixers. And the story that I wrote, transition period, when he is still playing by the rules that he used to, when the resources that he had and the control that he had and the perspective that he had, that thing to pick up the down soldiers, to get our own people, those things that we currently do in our modern day military. He has the problem of being a mercenary unit now, and now he has the bottom line. What resources he's dating. The story itself, the Milk Run, starts off with a fairly easy job, Forgotten Legion, that Lucas Markham created, just ferrying troops back, the medic, the wounded troops from the front lines to the back. When one of their aircraft, the 11th pass over the same place, so the same stretch of land that hasn't caused them problems, but now some enemy unit behind enemy lines is ready for them, so takes down an aircraft. And the commander of the fixers does what he always does, and his resources to go pick up his people. The board isn't so happy with that. Mostly focuses around, and there's 3 air branches and 3 ground branches. There's the Jollies, the actual VTOL soldiers, the Sandies that cover them overhead, and then the King dropships that a little bit higher up do some of the bigger pieces, and then there's 3 ground pieces. His daggers, which are straight up spec ops teams, and Ravens, who are security teams. So all this come into play as they're trying to pick up the potential volley that goes down, and then another Sandy goes down, and it just sort of spirals from there. Trying to resolve this situation, maintain the it's supposed to be. Doesn't end so well for the commander. I'll make the spoiler there. And the book that I'm going to be writing further up from there, where the leadership has changed hands because of that. And they have this new mindset of this new mercenary mindset of trying to make sure that their bottom line is all important, as opposed to the survival of their own. Really.
Yeah, so it's a struggle between money versus people, right? And what's just more important?
In the war, it was clear cut. We've got to get the people. Now, how do we make those decisions? There's a board that we have to answer to, and they're going to lose our jobs if we're not give them money.
Cool. I'm looking forward to the book itself. So I got the story. I like one of the facts that what a lot of us are bringing into it is our backgrounds. You know, we're coming from military backgrounds for most of us, and Rob's a really good gun guy, so I'm sure he knows his fire. So we're all helping each other out with experience that we don't have, right? So if something's outside of our purview, like I don't know jack about flying an airplane, yet somehow I have like 4 Air Force people working on this stuff. I can ask you guys, right? So that collaboration, I think, has been working out pretty good. So. All right, Sean, what do you got? Talk to me.
All righty. My group is about some mercenaries called the Black Snakes. They're the leftover remnants of a Legion fleet that basically was abandoned. Well, they were actually they went to go against a group of rebel forces, and ended up the rebel forces were hoping for some help. The help came, but it wasn't help. It was a double cross, and out of the aftermath of that, they basically licked their wounds and searched for a place to call their own, or at least be able to lick their wounds and heal up and find out what's going on. And out of that developed the Black Snakes. They are on a planet outside on the rim, outside of bubble space. One of my characters, the main character, Ronaldus Magnus, helps to negotiate and at least attempt to include the mercenary companies as part of the treaty that everybody signs, giving Meager and other people who also know that the mercenary outfits would be very key and crucial to the treaty in that the forces can't actually go into other territories officially. So the mercenary outfits like mine, which will provide air support and anti-aircraft capabilities to various other groups and mercenary companies, they're all going to be a part of this guild. Of course, it's basically a clearinghouse. It's so that things are kept to the treaty, as John has described. And in that treaty, the various space nations want to make sure that everybody's playing by the rules. Well, if you use mercenary companies, it's considered private contracting. Therefore, it's deniable plausibility, or plausible deniability, I should say.
Deniable plausibility.
What was that?
That's actually
Deniable plausibility. I'm gonna.
That's a pretty good expression.
Sorry.
No, that's actually a pretty cool expression.
Deniable.
Military intelligence at its finest.
Yeah.
Oxymoron. And basically,
I need to write that down. Sorry.
my story revolves around that group of people. They've already helped out in John's book a couple of times, so that's a good thing. We're still collaborating and getting things going. I got my story in for the anthology. There's other things involved in my story. I'm going to be covering background and how they actually got to the planet. The name of the planet is, nicknamed Vino V, or Vino Veritas. Truth is in the wine. And basically it's a planet that was developed using Empire technology, where they were thinking of, hey, we're going to expand out, we're going to develop these worlds. So they ended up terraforming a bunch of worlds over a long period of time. Some of them got partially developed, some of them got fully developed, but they still need everything. And that's where I'm currently at right now, going through the backstory. I started doing a little bit of research on what it would take to terraform a planet and what it would take to create environments on the planet, ecosystems on the planet. And all of this was included in what they do when they terraform a planet, but it's not all just Grasuan. It's not all human. It's kind of a combination of different things. The Grasuans they base everything as much in biology as they possibly can. They develop something for a use. They like the DNA sniffer from one of John's stories. I absolutely love that plot, though. That's kind of nice. It can tell specifics, and it's creatures like that. Like they have creatures that'll do cleaning. They have creatures that will do all sorts of things that normally you wouldn't think they could do. They have things that can communicate from point A to point B. But it's not so much techno, just technology like circuits and wiring and such. It's more biology based, and that is where I'm trying to come into my own in developing this world where they arrive. It's been terraformed, but there's a lot more work to do. And besides all that, my story is going to be 10 years after they arrive, with the partial backstory already written in the anthology, and it's going to kind of go back and forth as to what happened in the past and where they're going to go forward, and how they're going to be enabling themselves to grow that planet, grow that world, invite people in, biologists and colonists and farmers and people who know how to run an economy. And that's where it all is starting to coagulate and go from there. It's kind of complicated because so far, I'm trying to get something where you have to have people I need, like cartographers, biologists, engineers for development, farming, animal husbandry, ranchers, specialists in xenoplanetology. What do they need? Well, when you're on a planet, what's the first thing you're going to need? You're going to need food, water, shelter, and sanitation, and communication. And you got to set up basically everything you need on a planet, and you got to think about the future. And that's currently where my story's at.
Cool. What Sean was referring to when I came up with the idea for, technology 26 centuries from now will be so far ahead of anything we have right now. It'd be ridiculous, right? So I didn't want to be unrelatable. So what the premise was is that, like most empires, they have to suppress, and the way they do that is by restricting technology, kind of like a pre-Starfight, so mid-21st century. But the Gaussians, the aliens who ran the empire, were very into genetic engineering. So sprinkled throughout the books are various disastrous experiments, people that have been affected by genetic engineering, creatures that have been created, and a lot of the economy depended not on robots, but on genetically modified beings to do the things that we want to do. So that's kind of a little bit different, unique twist on how we're doing things. All right, Armondo, tell us about your paratrooper story. How your guys are jumping into a planet. Right.
Well, that's for the anthology. My guys are jumping into a planet for the anthology. But the larger arc of my story is if you do a deep dive into the Roman Empire history, you'll realize that the Romans, good or bad or otherwise, they're known for three things, really, when it comes to their expansion, their military conquest. They're known for raising up heroes out of nowhere that, they call you up and, go do great things, and then they betray you. They're known for wholesale abandoning entire legions, to their fate. Hey, thanks for fighting for us. Good luck getting home. And they're known for, after the fall, how much technology was lost. And John had mentioned this just a minute ago, that Rome, at one point, Rome was so huge that 1 in every 3 or 4 people lived under the Roman Empire, either as a citizen or as a subject. And when Rome fell, so much knowledge was lost. And I just think all of these things are fascinating. That's the direction I'm taking in my story. And my main protagonist is a hero of the Gaussian Empire who did great things and was repeatedly, tossed aside. As thanks for his service, he was stabbed in the back. Flash forward to the present time, and he's being asked to once again stand up for his people and save the empire. But the empire is gone, so now he's here to save what's left, and he really doesn't want to do it. You can only get burned so many times. So that's the springboard of my story, is a human hero that used to work for the Gaussians that's been burned one too many times, but he's the only guy that can save the remnants of what's left. In this case, communications technology. You're always going to have people that can cobble together an existing tech base, but in order to maintain civilization, you need to be able to speak to each other. This last year of lockdown, if nothing else is proven to us, if we didn't have communications, who knows what would have happened if we weren't able to get on Zoom or StreamYard or what have you, and talk to each other. Who knows what have happened this past year? That's where my story is. That's where I'm going, and we'll see how it goes. I'll tell you one thing, that this everything has been a learning experience for me. I come from a freelance journalist background and writing feature stories for the Army. This is my first attempt at writing a full-length book and the anthology. And working with all these guys, I can tell you I've learned so much about collaboration, making sure that our stories don't conflict, and trying to world build with a bunch of other good people.
So are you saying you didn't learn anything about collaboration or conflict in the Army?
I learned how to yell at people and put a boot in their ass in the Army.
That's collaboration, right?
But that counts as collaboration in the infantry, yeah.
Yeah. You see this? What is this?
Yeah. What learn anything about red pens?
It's the red pen, Armando.
Oh, you want me to mention that?
No, but it has been great collaborating, and everybody has different writing styles, and as an author, learning to be a publisher, I've learned a lot too, because I have to sit back sometimes and say, well, hey, that's not the way you would write it, but enough, it's good stuff, right? I have my own biases and the way I like to do stuff, and we all do. So learning to figure out how to put those styles into a world that I created and that Lucas and I worked on together is, it's been a bit humbling. Sometimes I just got to sit back and say, hey, let them roll with it. On the other hand, hopefully I've been helping people out, because when I started doing this, I didn't get very much feedback on my work. So hopefully, you guys are learning something too, right? And then what the long-term plans are for this is, eventually I'd like to have a lot of books set in this world, and then have the whole thing get picked up for a TV series and, 20-something movies like the Marvel universe, and, and we'll all be filthy rich, and Scarlett Johansson will be like, oh, hey, cool, I want to be in your next movie. I don't think it's going to happen, but we'll see. And if we bring to people the entertainment that I had when I was a teenager, or when I was sitting there reading these books while I was on guard duty and stuff, that's the kind of stuff I'm looking for, right? To introduce people to basic science fiction and tell good stories. So, but it's fun having a panel with a bunch of veterans too, and military guys, and gun, because we can all pick on each other. So, all right, guys, that was Fallen Empire stuff. I have other things coming out from Canon, which you guys can hang out on the panel and we can discuss, or I can just talk about it. Usually I partner up with Lucas on the Fey Wars, but if you guys aren't busy and you want to write a Fey Wars novel too, then hey, just let me know. That's Lucas's gig. All right. He's the mastermind for that. So anybody else want to chip in on what you guys are doing aside from that? I know, Casey, you're writing a book for Chris Kennedy, right? Anybody else working on stuff? I mean, don't talk about Chris's stuff for like 5 hours.
Yeah. Well, since you asked, yes, I did. I got another book that I just finished for Chris Kennedy. I got another one that I'm collaborating on right now, and then yours is the third one after that for the Fallen Empire. Okay. I also got the JTF 13 that I wrote for you last year that now Hillbilly's pushing. We just talked about that in the Three Ravens, but hopefully that'll be coming out by the end of the year. Yeah,
that was actually a publishing thing that I learned. Don't bite off more than you can chew, right? So we had a bunch of books written for a series called Joint Task Force 13, and I just got swamped with stuff. So I said, hey, Hillbilly, in return for $1 million, you can have these 5 manuscripts.
Wait, what?
Oh, he didn't tell you guys that? No.
Where's my cut of that?
No, it's...
What kind of lies are you telling? Wait, hold on. Okay, if this is a Canon Publishing panel, where is our... oh, crap. What do you call her?
Executive Vice President of Fun.
Yeah, there we go.
I told her this is professional. She can't be in on this.
Oh, no. But she's Canon Publishing. She's the mascot. You got to get her.
That's true. I'll text her.
Use the face of Canon Publishing.
So, no, Hillbilly
in John's face.
You skipped me, man.
You do have nice hair.
He does. Yeah. Speaking of Hillbilly, while we're on Fallen Empire,
Hillbilly, tell us
wherever he is in relation to me, I don't know.
He's up top left.
Yeah,
he's right.
Actually,
we do the
I forgot. You were going to write a story
there.
That away.
Yeah.
That way.
I've already turned in one.
I know, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm a ground pounder guy. I'm a forward observer, artillery guy, right? And I'm like, hey, let's write some infantry stories.
I got a whole bunch of ground attack stories.
I've got 3 ground attack stories, aircraft and a space story. And even the infantry guy sent me a space battle story. And so I'm like,
the infantry needs to get there before they can fight. Okay.
Then I would have.
My story wound up on the ground.
It did. It did.
You end up on the ground, but you got to get there first.
No, I still have a short that I've got to write for you for the Hatfields Hooligans.
Tell us
To
about
introduce them into the, huh?
Tell us about the Hooligans. Go ahead.
There you go.
Well, the Hooligans start out as just a bunch of miners. They're off on this planet or planetoid by themselves. A Grousian companies run things, mining. They've basically got slave labor. And when the Empire falls, they bug out and they leave everybody there after they've taken everything that they can of value. And after a certain amount of time, supplies start running out. They've set it up to, if there was ever a revolution or something, well, the people will die out and then they just come back and take over the area. So our guys hobble together a ship in order to get back. And, it's nothing fancy. It's a heavy haul transport. But they can get out to the rest of the galaxy and they start finding out what's going on and, trying to make a name for themselves, but they kind of get in trouble doing so because they don't know that there's rules to mercenaries and things like that. It was kind of inspired by the Peaky Blinders, going off of things like the Billy Boys from out of Ireland and Scotland, just mob ties, things like that. The old 1920s mobster kind of stuff. And these guys are just doing what they can do to make a buck and move on and take care of the people back home.
And they run afoul of the big boys, and they have to figure out how they're going to fit in the world. My apologies. I sometimes forget because we talk about so much other that you owe me a story, and I owe you a book.
Yep.
So
yeah, I still owe you a story.
Yeah, and I owe you a JTF 13 book. So, so I had a bunch of JTF stuff over to Hillbilly, and he very graciously took it at Three Ravens Publishing and ran with it. So for those of you who were expecting JTF 13 from Canon, it's now in the hands of Three Raven Publishing, and Hillbilly's been doing a heck of a job with it, and it'll be coming out soon. So but all of us in this sphere of publishing are kind of like this incest people who just write stories for each other and tell stories for each other and try and help each other out. So it's actually a pretty good band of brothers authors. So that's going to be, it does. And that's one of the good things about, it's frustrating because sometimes I'll be like, hey, who wants to write a book? And everybody's like, well, I owe this guy a book, and I owe this guy a book, and I owe this guy a book. So I'll get back to you maybe in 3 years. And I'm like, crap. So
and I'm getting there.
Yeah. Well, you'll get there, Casey. And Mike's, have you published a book yet? You've done a short story for me.
Yeah. So I've done 2 short stories for you.
Yeah,
one for the science fiction anthology, one for JTF 13.
Yep.
I've got the Fallen Empire one that's either going to go in the anthology or into the book that I'm going to write. I'm backed up on short stories on a short timeline. I just submitted one short story for the Bane fantasy short story contest. I'm working on one for J.R. Handley's On Deadly Ground anthology that hopefully I can get it in there. Hopefully he likes it. And then Rob Howell over at Chris Kennedy is doing a monster anthology where you write from the point of view or about a monster. So I'm going to try and do a short story on that one as well. So those are all due in the next, Bane already submitted, but the other 2 are due within the next couple of months here. So I'm going to try and fit those in and around vacation, going to Fantasy, and of course work.
Yeah. So we're all super. So now that Karen has stopped cursing because she slammed her finger in the door or something, and dancing around going ow, ow, ow as silently as she could. This is the Executive Vice President of Happiness for Canon Publishing. All right.
Yay.
And she's my better half.
Yes.
Much better third.
Everyone misses you, Karen.
Better 2/3, really.
Yeah.
Best half.
So they asked for you to stick your nose in here. Your turn.
LibertyCon loves you.
Yep.
We like you more than we like him.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Whatever. You're right. I'm cute. Okay. Cool.
I just want to be roughly on the same level as you.
Okay. Cool. So that's what I've got for what's new for Canon. For yes, I see that, Sean. We also have put other things out last year, within the last 2 years, a couple of anthologies, which not doing too many anthologies anymore because they are a pain in the ass to pay everybody every month, every quarter. But we've got that, and of course, I have my books, and we're putting out. Hold it back. Hold the books back up. All right. So, Canon is a small publisher. We're going to focus on putting out some really good stuff. I'm going to share my screen with you, and you can see the cover to. Yeah, see that?
There we go.
Yeah. Okay. That's the Irish Brigade.
The Irish Brigade.
And then we
The Irish
have.
Brigade.
Funny, none of them look Irish.
Well, it's.
Anyone can be Irish.
Way in the future Irish.
Yeah. It's a tradition.
Land of the future Irish.
Oh, get rid of this freaking thing. There we go. Did I stop sharing? Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So the other thing I've been working on, and that Can's been working on, so you guys feel free to chime in on this if you're interested. Lucas Markham has been obsessed
Actually,
with.
sorry, before you get word, I'm gonna hop off.
Sure.
Been great.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Yeah. So how did cheerleaders for us, Case?
We'll do.
Right.
See you in a couple weeks.
All right, see you.
Dude.
See one of you in a few days.
Yep.
All right.
Cool. So Lucas has been obsessed with the fact that he thinks that the elves from Tolkien are a bunch of obnoxious, right? Whereas everybody loves all the elves. So he's like, well, what if they're actually the bad guys? And I'm like, okay, sounds cool. Let's write a book about it. And I'm a military. I like writing the human end of things, military stuff. So we were going to write a book where I wrote the first part and he wrote the second part. And I sat down and just started writing the story. And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I'm at 38,000 words. And, how you doing? He's like, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. But he got a lot of things going on at home. So I just kept writing. And I wound up writing the longest book I've written. Telling a story of.
You're going to have to repeat that because you cut out.
Sorry. I just sat down and started telling the story, and it actually just really kind of rolled off my fingers. It's a story of the elves invade Manhattan. That sounds kind of like corny, like the Muppets invade Manhattan, but it turns into a knockdown, drag-out fight between a bunch of Delta Force guys who happen to be there killing a spy, and the elves who have their magic. And eventually the 69th Infantry gets involved and an Guard, and it's just a couple of weeks of brutal fighting all throughout New York City, and explore, the what ifs. Would our technology pull up against elves and magic, right? And we put that out. It's gotten some really good reviews. I was a little worried about it because when you mix genres, you kind of get the fantasy people who are like, oh, that's too bloody and realistic when somebody gets shot in the head with a 50 caliber, right? And then you get the military guys who are like, oh, that spell's crap. An M1 tank can put it a round right through that spell. What is this crap? I'm like, you gotta kind of let your imagination go, right? So it's done pretty well. And Lucas is almost done. He's got the second edits. He sent me a manuscript. And he's like, oh, it's done. I'm like, you think so, right? And I got the red pen out and went to work on them. So Armondo, don't feel bad, all right? And it's just technical stuff. The story itself is great, and it follows the retreat of the National Guard and the regular army through Pennsylvania and being hounded by the elves and dragons and stuff like that. But the big thing about it is the stories themselves are people, not the events. It's just how people react to stuff, and that's always how I've tried to write my stories. So look for book 2 on the Fae Wars. See if I can put the cover up from that one. And where is that? Fae Wars 1. Share going on here. Share screen. I appreciate you guys being patient. Okay, so as you can see, there's dude in armor walking through the streets of Manhattan with a big ass dragon. Just basically froze and shattered one special ops guy, and the other guy's like, "Oh crap!" Right? So that's pretty much the story, and it goes really well. I enjoyed writing it, and actually, it was one of the easiest stories I had to write. So, next one we're gonna have, still sharing that screen. You guys still hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Let me just dig out the cover for.
Yeah, you stopped sharing.
Book. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to look for the cover of the next book. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I'm not super prepared for this.
Oh my God! Come on, John.
Oh, whatever. They're not showing up in the order I wanted them to show up. So
This is how quick he was when you called for fire support.
Oh,
but it was accurate. So I mean, that's what counts, right? Besides, what did I give a crap? I was on the other end of it. No, can't find it. And the other thing we're working on is a veterans travel guide. We are going to put out a travel guide written by a guy who works out in New York City, who's very passionate about travel, and it's going to have a focus on VFW posts and just places that he thinks as a veteran you'd be interested in seeing. So, why did that not come up? There we go. Let me share this. So we're kind of branching out a little bit. All right. Share screen, window, Fey Wars. So that's the cover for the second book. To give you a hint, not all the bad guys are bad guys. And if you can see up there on the right, the orcs wearing the American flag. So kind of gives you an idea of what might be going on in the book. Strange allies, things like that. She's wearing that weird camouflage, but hey, that's cool. So that's what we got going on at Canon. Hopefully you guys can drop in and tune in. Any of you guys who want to write a book in the Fey Wars world, perfectly welcome to. But you have to check with Lucas on that because he is the man. All right. So anybody have any questions? Any guys want to jump in on this or talk about anything else?
I owe him a story yet in JPF, and I'll get going on it as soon as I can.
Yeah, I owe you a book, Hillbilly, based on my story. So I'm going to put it in there somewhere in the schedule. All right. Rob, I'm looking forward to your book. I really am. I think it's going to be good follow-up on things. All right. Mike, like I said, I'm not sure we're going to do the anthology or we're just going to run straight into stories because everybody gave me a good story. If you guys want to expand them into books, I might just dump them out 1, 2, 3. So, all right, we'll talk about that. Fair enough? Okay. Yep. I really wish I was seeing all you guys at LibertyCon. This whole COVID thing sucks. I mean, hopefully next year, man. Yeah, I hope so. So
yeah, some of us can get tickets.
Yeah, that's the thing right there. How quickly it sells out.
Well, here's the thing, Mike. By next year, you'll be so famous that Tony will be like,
"Oh yeah,
Mike Morten. Oh, cool, guest of honor.
Yeah, here's my coattails. Come on in.
Yeah, from your lips to her ears. Yeah,
yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? So, in any case, there's other cons. I was thinking of going to Gen Con in Indiana, but they moved that to September, which clashes with the school schedule and all that stuff. So, yeah, we'll see. And then the year after that, everything will be fine, and we'll all be vaccinated or whatever, and or we'll be dead and whatever. Life goes on.
But that's when the aliens will show up.
Yeah, it's just a return to regular history. So, what if the aliens did show up? I mean, what if they just dropped down in the middle of Central America and said, "Hey, not Central America, Central America, like the Midwest." Sean's house said,
"There'd be a barbecue."
Hey, Sean McCune, we're here from Planet Xenon. We'd like you to take us to your leader. Where would you take them if an alien landed, wanted to experience the culture of your country? Where would you take them?
Well, the first thing I would do is welcome to Earth, third rock from the sun. Then I would say, do you really want to be here? And if they determine that they want to meet some type of leader, I say, okay, well, let me get on your ship and I'll point where you need to go.
Cool.
And then they hand you a book. and then they hand you a book with a title that you can't read, and you send your cryptographers to figure it out. Where is this going? Would you like to visit our planet? Yes, we'd love to have you. Here's the book.
For lunch, yes.
How to cook 40 humans. No. Mike, what would you do if they landed at your house?
Well, after I woke up again from the dead faint from seeing an alien,
Come on, you're a satellite guy. You know they're out there. You've seen them.
I can neither confirm nor deny the existence of
Mhm.
alien technology in the DoD.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, probably. It depends on what they wanted. If they wanted to experience Earth culture, I'd probably take them out for a beer and some wings.
That sounds cool.
If they wanted to meet a leader, I'd say, well, that's a losing proposition right there. No
They're
matter what
cleverer
side you
than
pick.
you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just hope there'd be space lesbians from Planet 69.
And we'll get there. Okay, I'm trying to be reputable. All right.
That's going to be a book. We're going to get that made someday.
John was supposed to publish a book about that.
No, he wanted us all to help write, and he's got the cover. But we can all write versions of the space lesbians from Planet 69.
Isn't Jenny writing you a mill sci-fi romance?
Oh yeah, actually, I forgot about that. There's the cover of a book which probably will not get produced, but Sean keeps open. All right. Okay. Let me put it this way: as long as I have a federal job, I can't make this book. All right. Once I'm out of that, then
you can't.
We'll see what
we can. Three Ravens Publishing would be right there to help support it.
I would gladly turn that cover over.
I can't touch that one.
So yeah, the other thing I forgot, Jenny Posthumous, who I should have invited to this call, and I'm going to apologize to her up and down that I didn't, is putting out what Karen calls boobs in space. Okay, it's a space romance book because every freaking #1 category book in any of our categories is some female being molested by an alien, and it's a romance book, and that's in every #1 in all of our categories. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna see what happens. All right, that'll be coming out. Probably.
I would love to make the space lesbians from Lesbos 69 into a mill sci-fi. Well, yeah, you have your hot scenes, but then you have a group of Amazonian-style lesbian women coming out and just kicking ass from space.
Sean, you want to write it? Go ahead, write it. And
I've got 3 novels I'd be working on right now anyway. So
Rob, aliens land at your front yard, and they say they want to experience your culture. What gun do you hand them?
Uzi. Hand them the Uzi.
Hand them the Uzi. Exactly.
Hand them the Uzi.
Cool. Oh, we saw this in Arnold Schwarzenegger movies back in the day. Armondo, you're going to take them to Portland so they can see the lovely.
That's just it. For me, it really wouldn't be that big a deal. I mean, remember, I grew up in Southern California, and now I live south of Portland. Seeing a bunch of freaks running around with their genitals hanging out, not a new experience for me. So it would just be another day. So yeah, I take them. Yeah, I take them to the riverfront, show them a good time, make sure they don't get robbed. And hey, the intergalactic diplomacy via the Riverwalk, not a problem. I'm your guy.
Cool. Hillbilly. They show up at your what?
How cute are they?
They're space lesbians from.
Okay, then I go full on Riker or Kirk, man, whore in space. All right, cool, we're done.
No, actually,
they never covered that episode. Space herpes, bud.
Oh. All right, guys. I got to jump. So, Hillbilly, I appreciate you putting this together. Thanks, guys, for working.
We'll talk about you after you're gone, John.
That's cool. I've been not in contact as much as I want to be because I've been trying to hammer these books out. I'm on a job too, so that's going to hopefully change as soon as I get to do some vacation time. So
hey,
we'll keep working.
You still need to do your outro real quick.
My outro?
Yeah.
What?
You need to do your little outro. Thank you for watching Canon Publishing, blah,
You're
blah, blah,
using
whatever.
fancy
You want me to
words
do
he
it?
doesn't
Do
understand.
you want me to do
Outro.
it? Do you want
Outro.
John to do it? Do you want me to do it?
Is that an actual
Yeah,
word?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
it is
let,
an
let
actual
Sean do
word.
it.
You have an
Let
intro,
John do it.
and then you have an out. Oh,
Okay.
See, I
So
can
if
doctor
you're
all
looking,
this up in post-production.
right, if you're looking for Canon books, you can find us on Amazon under our author names, or you can go to canonpublishing.us website, and you will find all of our books there. Right, all of the Canon Publishing books, and I really recommend if you want to jump into something, if you're into post-apocalyptic, check out A Regular Scout Team 1. Which I'll drop a little hint right now. There's a game in development based on that, right? Video game. And you can do Future Space War through Under a Different Sun. You can check out Space Mercenaries from the Irish Brigade. You can watch Delta Force fight elves in Fey Wars. We pretty much got anything that you're looking for except what Sean wants right now. Okay, so go check out canonpublishing.us. Look for the command post on Facebook for our group, and you'll be able to give feedback and our works in progress and help us shape the next books. Cool. Appreciate it. Everybody have a great night. Thanks.
thank you, John. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us here at LibertyCon 33 virtual panel, What's New from Canon Publishing. Thank you again, and you're welcome.